Hey, welcome back to another video. I want to talk about getting caught up into the hype of the potential problems that can happen in your case. And this is a really tough one because a lot of those fears that you're worried about with what might happen in family court or what your ex might do, I mean, there's a chance that those things can happen. But one of the things you have to really be cautious about is if you buy into the fear and the possibility of what happens, there's a strong chance that you can almost like make it happen. Now you can be like, well, wait a minute, what the hell does that mean? And what I mean is that whenever you are focused on the worst possible outcome in your case, in your situation, and you're thinking about it constantly, and you're worried about it, and rightfully so, right? I mean, this is a really tough topic to cover because in those early days of it, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what your ex is going to pull. You don't know what the court's going to believe. You don't know what other people are going to believe. And you can start to get really stressed and worn out. And what comes with that oftentimes is being paranoid. And that is it's a recipe for catastrophe when all these things are rolling into themselves and you're convinced that everything's going to go wrong, that you're going to lose, that everyone's going to turn against you, that the whole world's against you, and all this stuff. And part of the problem is then when you start talking to people and if they ask certain questions and you start saying, the world's out to get me, everyone's out to get me, no one will believe me, you start coming across in a way to where if a professional is evaluating you and they're utilizing their diagnostic and statistical manual and all the different checklists that go through it, it can lead them down a path thinking that you have different issues than you potentially really have. That's one part of it. That's one problem that you have to be prepared for. The second part is whenever you get like that, you start to make decisions that are really not effective for you. They can actually really hurt you. One of the things that I've mentioned or I've been talking about recently is maintaining your credibility when you're going through this process. And when you make decisions on your own or you just make bad decisions because you're so worn out and stressed, that can really negatively affect your credibility. And then what ends up happening is it's like a feedback loop to where what you're worried about happening is now starting to happen. You're starting to see it, so you worry about it more. So you make more bad decisions, which makes it happen more. And it's this, like I said, it's like this feedback loop that just causes what you were worried about happening to happen. For instance, in my situation, I was convinced that the ex was turning the kids or trying to turn the kids against me. And she was. I mean, I wasn't making that up. But the stress of that, plus everything that was as what's the word I'm looking for? Everything that could happen as a result of that, being able to move, getting full custody, all those type of things. It made me more stressed. And then when I did have my kids, it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I would feed into that drama that would reinforce to the kids that the concerns that their mom was saying were legitimate, and it just made things worse and worse and worse. Now, I'll tell you, it's hard not to do that. I mean, it's hard to be in these situations and keep your game face on and be focused on trying to do everything in the best way possible. Now, the sad reality is that means you still may not come out the way you want to, but you will absolutely hedge your bets, increase your opportunity for success if you're able to recognize this trap, because that's what it is. It's absolutely a trap. And then make decisions and choices that help calm you down, that help you stay grounded in reality, that get you out of that paranoia and that stress and anxiety, or at least minimizes it. It's when it starts rolling into paranoia that it really starts to cause you problems. And this is an important thing to hit to talk about, because there's so many bad stories out there. There's so many nightmare situations. You can get on any Facebook group, probably a bunch of YouTube channels, read news articles about how the system has failed somebody, how bad it's been, and what it's cost them, how it's destroyed their life, how they've lost their life as a result of it, all these different things. And it's so easy to get caught up in thinking, oh my God, that's going to be me. And if you're constantly thinking, oh God, that's going to be me, it increases the chance that it is going to be you. That doesn't mean that if you do like I said, it doesn't mean if you do everything right that you're gonna prevail and they'll be exposed and your relationship will be a bowl full of rainbows. No, this is a lot of hard work. And my situation, it's turned out pretty good. 8 years or almost 9 years into this whole thing, it's going okay. I got 2 adult kids now. I still have a minor, and there's still stupid stuff going on, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was. And those first few years of this were incredibly tough. I mean, that's probably a huge understatement, because it was incredible. It was really tough. And it's really difficult when you're struggling with that to think it's going to work out. Whenever you have no other information, no other stories of people making it through it, you can feel isolated and alone. Now, fortunately, there's a lot of people who are out there speaking on their stories now, talking about the successes they've had and how they've grown from this to where I think it's easier now. It's still not completely easy, but you can find people like myself and others who have been able to navigate this, do okay, and come out the other side. And some of them are pretty bad stories. Dr. Carlos is a good example. If you're not familiar with him, I've never talked to him, but I'm familiar with his story. Or even Caleb Leverett, who I have talked to and I've made some videos on and did some collaborations with. These are people who've gone through some really traumatic experiences, like worst case scenarios, where they still were able to persevere and ultimately prevail. Now, did they prevail in a way that their life is what they thought it was going to be? No. But like Caleb Leverett, if you check him out, I'll put a link up in the card for his channel. If you watch his stuff, it was really traumatic when he was documenting it. But the guy's made his peace with it. He's still been able to retain a relationship with his kids. He has one of them that lives with him now. He's finally gotten in front of a judge who realized that this is just stupid. We're destroying, we're making things worse instead of making things better, and knocked a lot of the shenanigans off. I know there are people who think that he was just as bad as the mom or worse. For me, the thing on that story is you have somebody who struggled through this, lost connection with their kids, had to spend time in jail for past due support, contempt of court, and didn't lose himself in it. We hear so much of people who just give up and lose everything. We all lose a lot, but I think it's more powerful when you see people who are able to persevere, do their time on this, so to speak, and then come out on the other side and are rebuilding their lives and are happy and are doing things that probably they never thought they would do. But at the same time, they've their life hasn't been completely destroyed. And I think that is an incredibly important message, because it's so easy to lose hope in all of this. It's so easy to get, what I was talking about before, to get wrapped up in everything that's going and fall into the anxiety, the stress, and the paranoia. And some of those things may ultimately happen, but I think if you can find your inner strength on that and to realize that you can persevere through this, it can help. I know for me, when I was really struggling, I got to the point where I was so angry and bitter that just the sheer, the anger of, you're not going to win. You're not going to break me. You're not going to drive me into the ground. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep dusting myself off, stepping back up, getting knocked down, stepping back up. And in retrospect, I look at it, and my story was nothing compared to some of these other stories. I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I would have made it. But that doesn't mean that the stress or the anxiety that I was feeling back then was any less. It was very serious and it was very dangerous. But here I am today, on the other side of this, and I'm not. It's weird because I'm not living the life I ever dreamed I would have, and I'm not really where I want to be, but I can kind of see a path to where I'm going. But man, I am so much happier. I'm just like, it's really weird. It's weird how you get distance from all this stuff to where in the moment it's so damn painful. And I'm not diminishing what anyone's going through, because when you're in the middle of this, it's tough. And whenever you're in family court and you're being demonized and you're trying to fight for the time and the access to your own children, it's a tough battle. So I just want to hit this and just take a deep breath. Don't let that paranoia and that stress and that anxiety envelop you. I know that's easy to say. I get that. But I think it's truly important to realize that there's a lot of people who've been through this and a lot of people who've been able to come out the other side. And there's even a lot more people who started out with no access to their kids, are rolled up on a year or over a year of fighting the court system just for the opportunity to be able to have a relationship with their kids, and ultimately been able to overcome that by determination, jumping through those flaming hoops, not falling for the traps, and not falling for the traps we create ourselves. So I'm going to wrap this up, and I will talk to you on the next video. Take care, guys.